So listen, I'm proud to bring forward a 45 days deemed approved piece of legislation. So I'll take you a little bit into the weeds. So DEP has 15 days to recognize an application as being administrative complete or not. Okay, so they have 15 days to determine, yes, every box has been populated, this application is ready to move forward for review and consideration. And then beyond that, you have 30 days to deem that application approved. And that speaks to the predictability and stability that industry and businesses deserve in Pennsylvania. And listen, we didn't just pluck 15 days or 30 days or 45 days out of thin air. We examined other states. And these are states that are really, they have a very noticeable environmental bent. And that is Vermont, California, and New York. Listen, if they're setting the baseline, that's something that we should certainly be able to put in the crosshairs and target. And my attitude is this: let's go to DEP with this proposal and let's talk about it. If they say, Fritz, we don't have the FTEs, we don't have the technology, we got to push that out a little bit, then I'm open to having that conversation. But again, industry needs stability and predictability. And that's what my legislation looks to accomplish. And I want to take it to a little bit more of a macro level, if you'll allow me to. Now, I proudly represent the 111th Legislative District. We have some of the most prolific, highest producing natural gas wells in the world, right here in my district. And people may think, oh, it's an industrial wasteland, I'll bet you all it is big trucks up there and dust and dirt. Listen, come on up here, please. Don't just read the newspapers that are feeding you misinformation or websites that are feeding you misinformation. Do yourself a favor and drive up here to the 111th Legislative District, and here's what you're going to find. It is pristine and beautiful and bucolic. The farms, the barns, the silos, the stone walls, the wildlife. We have some of the best hunting and fishing in the world. And the natural gas industry has actually helped to support that. Listen, I ran for mayor when I was 27, and won, by the way. But the primary theme in my election was I wanted to reverse brain drain. It's a very real problem for Pennsylvania as a whole. I think Josh mentioned it, but especially in my area. All the bright minds were leaving, going elsewhere. And I very actively wanted to reverse that. So one thing that I could do was bring some culture. We have a downtown district right here. I'm overlooking my main street. We've got 2 wineries, 2 breweries. We've got all kinds of awesome restaurants and bars. It's full of life. But I'm telling you, what is feeding those businesses and what's bringing that viability back is jobs. And that has been exactly what natural gas has done for our area. You cruise around the 111th and you see all the preserved farms with a brand new roof on the barn, brand new 3/4 ton truck sitting in the driveway. Listen, I used to sell farm machinery, so I'm always noticing the hay balers and the tractors, brand new tractors and machinery. It has breathed critical new life into my region. But there's been an impediment and a series of impediments. We have this godsend, this wonderful industry, this natural resource underfoot. Well, what is holding us up from realizing our potential? A big part of it is regulation. Instead of rolling out the red carpet, like West Virginia or Ohio, we bust out the red tape. It's not how can I facilitate, it's how can I impede. All right, listen, that's a culture, that's a mindset that we are very actively working against. And listen, it's easy to criticize, but it begs the question, what can we do to help remedy that situation? And this speaks to Reese's bill. We need to build a pipeline, no pun intended, of young folks with an environmental science interest, whether it be through grade school and high school and obviously college, but we need them to come out with a tempered view of industry, because I'm telling you right now, the folks that are in decision-making positions, and not all of them, it's not across the board, all right? I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, but a lot of our folks at our permit reviewing agencies have an environmental bent that is not friendly towards industry. They do not believe that environmental stewardship and industry are mutually exclusive, or they're not mutually exclusive, rather. And it's very, very critical that we bring about that change in mindset, that change in culture. And George, I'll speak to you because I see that you are so actively engaged in your community in educating young minds and exposing all the benefits to schools and different community leaders in our region and our area. And I thank you for that. But I really want to see Cabot and the industry as a whole lead the way in bringing about this pipeline of minds and bright minds where they can have a position in permit reviewing agencies. And listen, the industry's been around in my region long enough now for 10 plus years, where these young minds can come from households that have benefited from the industry as part of the landscape, as part of their way of life. They know that that's what's putting a roof over their head and food on their table. So it's critical. In the meantime, however, we have a certain cast of characters and a certain reality that we have to work with it. So we're not going to see sweeping changes anytime soon, but what we can do is we can introduce, I like to call them ratchets. And my piece of legislation is a ratchet. It introduces a new standard for permit review and acceptance. And that's what our industry needs. I'm proud to partner with these guys. Listen, we're not in the House just taking issue with the governor and shutting down the businesses. No, we wanted to bring forward our own answer and our own policy introduction, which is this group of bills. And I got a great team around me.
But Representative, the question has come in, from the standpoint of deemed approved. The overall question is, have you seen the Department of Environmental Protection be helpful, be hurtful? And what can you do just to say, you know what, get on our team to help promote manufacturing, to help promote pipelines?
Thank you, George. So, listen, I'm sitting here and I physically felt my blood pressure go up when Cale mentioned Penn Future. Okay. So we had an Environmental Resource and Energy Committee meeting last year where Penn Future had an individual there providing testimony, and he likened those of us. Now this is serious. He likened those of us that advocate and promote the use of fossil fuels to what happened at Sandy Hook. Oh my goodness. There is no excuse for a reference like that. Just an egregious and entirely unacceptable analogy and response. And here's what I want to talk about. We are dealing with people on the other side of this that are not reasonable. They're not logical. And I'm sorry, I can't have a conversation and I can't reason or negotiate with somebody that is completely untethered from reality and logic. It's a very serious issue. And that is the very mindset that unfortunately has leaked its way into our state agency. They are oppositional to fossil fuel and responsible industry. So here's one thing that I will mention is that DEP, at least some of the folks that are counting beans at DEP, realize how important the industry is to the financial health of their agency. Okay? And they realize that we need to have this industry if they want to continue to provide jobs and have a pension. So that's the angle that we can use to our advantage, if you will, is how critically important this industry is. And for all the people that are on this call, I just please implore you that if you have a family member or a coworker or a neighbor, whatever, anybody in your social dynamic, your social circle that comes from a place of emotion when it comes to industry and the environment, that you have that conversation with them. Talk them off the ledge. Friends, when I hit a light switch, I really like that my lights come on. I like that it lights up a room. We cannot live in a world without fossil fuel. And for anybody that wants to interpret what I'm saying as being adversarial to wind or solar, I'm not. I'm an investor. I'm a finance guy. And if you have a portfolio of stocks, it needs to be diversified. I need small caps. I need industrials. I need utilities. It's the same philosophy and same approach when it comes to energy. I need an all the above approach. I need responsible use of fossil fuels. I need the wind. I need the solar. And I'm not going to tether myself to just one or the other. It needs to be all the above. That's the logical conversation that I advocate and I want to put out there. And I wish the folks on the other side would at least meet me halfway.